analyst who has tracked this IPO very closely. Agam, this was waiting to happen, this discounted listing.
Yes, it was. And, at least personally, I'm not surprised because let's consider the valuations at around 26 times the enterprise multiple, and as compared to its other peers, which were a lot cheaper. That's one thing. The other thing is, of course, that the company is loss-making as against its peers, which are not loss-making. So that's the other thing which is going against, the valuations as such. Moreover, there's also the fact that the company is susceptible to a lot of changes in the coffee pricing. And other than that, the fact that it has been loss-making for the last 3 years is going to be something that hasn't gone down, at least well with the retail and the non-institutional subscribers. As you can see, they haven't even made as much as 1 time in terms of subscription. Bulk of the subscription has come from institutions, and these are some of the factors which are working against the Coffee Day IPO listing right now, at least. But once again, we just have to wait and watch as to how it develops. For now, we're looking at a 10% cut.
Oh yes, Agam, thanks for that. And the market mood is also quite weak, so the listing has not happened on a great day. It's on a day when the market has fallen for 5 consecutive trading sessions. Also big debt, long-term debt of more than 3,200 crores, loss-making, lots of debt. That's the 2 key reasons why the stock has not seen any favor with investors.
And marquee guys have disappointed the market. Sun Pharma's AGM commentary was extremely cautious. Bajaj Auto's numbers have not at all flattered the market or flattered its own performance that was promised in prior months. Those stocks have kept the market to its knees, and then the results reactions continue on stocks like L&T and Lupin, both of them down about 2% each. These are like big falls that the market is seeing, and there's not much to counter it. M&M, of course, came with a decent set of numbers, but we have a guest joining us.
Yes, in fact, we have Mayuresh Joshi of Angel Broking, who tracks the CCD IPO closely. He joins in now. Mayuresh, morning. It's been a very disappointing, debut for CCD, down about 10.5% now. What's the expectation here on?
So clearly, Sonia, morning. So on terms of the top line growth, I think historically seen 30% CAGR for CDEL. But clearly on the bottom line, I think you were seeing consolidated net losses to come through. And valuations, again, at the IPO price were expensive, considering that it was a holding company which was coming out with the IPO. So if you start discounting the other businesses as well, and you're not really sure on what kind of a discount percentage that you'll give to the other businesses, I think clearly that was going to take a toll on the stocks. Again, I think if you consider the negligible profits the subsidiaries are making and the complex structure that the company itself has, clearly the IPO was valued at a high price. Yes, it is corrected 10% right now. The valuations seem around 22, 23 times. But I think one really needs to understand how the coffee business will pan out. And though the management has made it very, very clear that the expansion plans, the fundraising would be towards the coffee business, that debt reduction would probably take place. One really needs to understand how the SS growth takes place specifically for the coffee business going forward. The markets will be innovative much more, because in the RHP, I think the SS growth was around 4%, and the markets would really like to see some pickup happening there on that front, which will take time. So I think it's going to be a wait and watch mode, at least for some length of time for Coffee Day.
Will you buy it at any price? At what price?
No, clearly, I think we'll still wait for declines onto the stock. I think that the markets will still try to realign in terms of how the earnings potential will pan out for Coffee Day, and it's too premature and early probably to just say to start chipping into the stock just because it's corrected 10%. So I think we will still wait for declines. And really, I think, as I mentioned earlier as well, I think one really needs to understand over the next few months how the volume growth is probably happening and what kind of realizations the coffee business would really derive going forward.
Okay, since we have you with us, Mayuresh, what is your word on Bajaj Auto? Did you look at the numbers? The stock has taken a pasting 4.5% lower.
Oh yes, and I was hearing the management on the channel as well. So clearly, I think the product mix probably is something to be watched out for Bajaj Auto. The volume degrowth probably is a little bit of a concern, and though festivities might have some amount of pop-up happening onto the stock, I think we're still expecting a bit growth in terms of volumes to pan out for generally the two-wheeler industry. So I think a reactive kind of a scene that you're probably seeing on the Bajaj Auto stock at this point of time. But clearly, I think one really needs to see the numbers beyond this festive season and management commentary in terms of how the product mix will pan out.
Okay, Mayuresh, thanks for that. Well, yes, the management did say that November sales will be exactly the same as October sales, and there won't be any growth, and that's perhaps the reason the stock saw an incremental cut.
But they did say the product mix will be of more high-value bikes, so to that extent, maybe a little bit of mellowing in terms of the top line impact. But let's get Mihir Jhaveri, the Director Institutional Research at Religare Capital, who tracks Bajaj Auto very closely. Mihir, if you heard Kevin Disa on our channel, what did you make of the management commentary after the numbers?
I'm sorry I couldn't hear him, but anyways, but I think overall the numbers look pretty weak in that sense for this month, and which is below expectation. So my expectation was also around flat number, but it had come in lower. So I think the reaction, the stock reaction is also with that, given the fact that this was festive season and the numbers have come out pretty weak.
What about the stock itself, Mihir? Do you expect more downside? Because the management indicated that even in November, the sales will be 3.52 lakhs, same as what they did in October. So there won't be any growth month on month. Given that the outlook is slightly tepid, do you expect more downside?
Yeah, but if you see month on month, yeah, probably the number might be 350. But if you see the November base is very low, so the November base last year was 309. So probably optically the number will look pretty good. In that sense, a double-digit plus growth. So that should to some extent negate the fears of the stock in terms of downside probably for the stock or something. If he's saying that November they will do the same number.
So would you buy any of the stocks at this price, Bajaj or Hero?
Yeah, so it will be very interesting to see how Hero's numbers pan out. So anything for Hero of about 6 lakhs probably could, result in gain of some market share for Hero, and probably people might want to buy more of Hero rather than Bajaj. So it's a tricky thing, but we'll be by evening we should know how Hero numbers have panned out this month. Right now the leading guy on the race is Eicher clearly.
Oh, of course, no two ways about that. Thank you very much, Mihir, for joining us with your quick thoughts on Bajaj Auto. Not impressed.